to obliterate Hamas. Hundreds of homes threatened by a 50,000-acre wildfire. It's burning in California's Los Padres National Forest. There have been some evacuations. Stock futures on Wall Street are higher, and this is SRN News.
I'm excited to share something that's especially close to my heart, the people of Israel. The Bible teaches us that in a world of broken promises, one covenant remains unshakable, God's eternal promise, his unwavering commitment to Israel, his beloved people. And now more than ever, God is calling Christians everywhere to support Israel, to be a living testimony that his promises endure forever. I've chosen to partner with the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews as one way to align myself with God's eternal plan. For over 40 years, this wonderful ministry has faithfully provided nutritious food, care, and life-saving aid to Israel's most vulnerable, the poor and the elderly, many of whom are Holocaust survivors. And when crises strike, like rocket attacks or urgent humanitarian needs, IFCJ is already on the ground responding with compassion and support. Join me in standing for Israel and declaring God's faithfulness to all generations. To learn more and to find out how you can help, visit ifcj.org. That is ifcj.org, ifcj.org.
Convenience just got an upgrade. Farmers State Bank of Oakley is excited to announce the opening of our brand new ATM along Highway 40, right next to Sonic Drive-In. Whether you're grabbing a snack or on the go, you can quickly access your cash without the detour. It's banking made easy, right where you need it. Farmers State Bank of Oakley, member FDIC.
Today, northwest flow pattern will continue. High pressure is situated over the southwest. We got morning fog that'll dissipate leading to afternoon sunshine. Highs will reach to around 90. South winds will increase from 5 to 10 miles per hour this morning to 10 to 20 this afternoon. Storm chances exist over Yuma County, and a separate cluster of storms will move from northwest to southeast across southwest Nebraska and northwest Kansas this evening and overnight. These storms have the potential to be severe with risks of damaging winds 60 to 80 miles per hour, large hail up to baseball size, and isolated tornadoes. Tonight, southeast winds will be gusty at 20 to 30 miles per hour with lows around 65. Tuesday through Thursday, high pressure will expand over the area, heating things up into the upper 90s to low 100s, with overnight low temperatures in the upper 60s. Still a possibility for some afternoon and evening storms, and overnight lows will be in the upper 60s. This is meteorologist Chris Schromick in the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
If you're looking for a new challenge, why not join NWKS Radio as an account executive and leverage your proven goal-driven mindset, fast-paced work ethic, and exceptional client service skills? The ideal candidate is ready to hit the ground running and will successfully take advantage of all of NWKS Radio's platforms to exceed their clients' expectations. Our next sales pro will take over a substantial sales list in the Goodland-Burlington area of Colorado and Kansas. Email chat at nwksradio.net. NWKS Radio is an equal opportunity employer.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
Big deals are rolling at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Drive off in a 25 GMC Sierra 1500 with $3,750 purchase allowance or 0% APR for 36 months and no payments for 90 days. Upgrade to the Sierra 1500 Denali and get up to $5,750 off or 0% for 36 months. Or go big with the Sierra 3500 Pro. $2,750 off or 3.9% for 48 months. Don't wait. Stop by Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland today or shop online at hurlchev.com.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas. serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
Summer is heating up, and Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of it. Tame that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer, and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle, and if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
You know, Grasshopper mowers are built to last and provide superb cutting, but have you seen everything else a Grasshopper offers? Grasshopper has over 17 different models to suit your specific lawn application. Now, from small home models to large commercial equipment, unique features like the one-touch power fold deck lifts the deck with the use of a button for easy maintenance and storage. To see all the features of a Grasshopper mower, visit Yost Farm Supply, Goodland, St. Francis, and Imperial.
The loss of a loved one can leave a person with a lot of challenges to handle during a very difficult time. That's where Bateman Funeral Home in Goodland comes in. At batemanfuneral.com, you can find lots of information and resources to help ease the burden, including pre-need arrangements, monuments, and obituaries. You can even express your condolences by ordering flowers. Make a difficult time easier and celebrate a life well lived with Bateman Funeral Home in Goodland and batemanfuneral.com.
School's out for the summer, but our students are still staying active, connected, and involved with Goodland Junior Senior High School in a number of ways. Summer Waits begins on June 2nd, and we're all excited to welcome back our Sherman County alumni for all-class reunion on July 24th through the 26th.
As always, don't forget to follow Goodland High School on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest amazing things our students are doing to beat the heat.
The Black and Gold Booster Club proudly supporting all students in their academics, activities, and athletics.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4!
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
There is a benefit to building a team and keeping it together for the length of time. But that does not happen anymore because of the portal and NIL and money.
The High Plains only local sports talk show.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
Broadcasting live on Rocket 102.5 and streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Who's got it better than that? Nobody!
Covering it all from the preps.
Lego Thorson in the corner for three.
Good! To the pros.
The 1-0 pitch. Fermin drives it into left center field. Game over. Freddie Fermin wins the marathon for the Royals.
The Blitz is presented by Pearl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with the Insurance Agency, the Farmer State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Let's go to work.
Kremski hits it to deep right field and gone in his first Royals at bat.
Ionescu puts the head down. Huntinger shot, counted and the foul. A new season high for Sabrina Ionescu. And there's a drive to left, and way back. It's Benintendi near the wall. It is gone. Say goodnight to the White Sox. Taylor Ward drives out a 3-run rocket, and the comeback is complete.
0-1 pitch. And hit deep to left. Is it enough? Going back, Pham, and gone! It's gone! You gotta be kidding me! Brenton Doyle with a 2-run home run. Rockies have come all the way back to win it, 17-16.
That got the weekend going. Crazy weekend. Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Glad you're back with us here on the Morning Blitz on Goodland's Rocket 102.5, NWKSradio.net, the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. Thank you so much for tuning in on this August the 4th, no matter which way you are doing so. A beautiful morning out there. Sunny and a gorgeous 62. Just a beautiful way to kick off this week. It is going to be a warmer one today than we experienced over the end of last week and kind of into the weekend. Temperatures in the upper 80s today and getting into the 90s by midweek and even possibly hitting the triple digits by the end of this week. So going to be a toasty one as we kind of wrap up fair season a little bit, honestly. You've got, as Raleigh was talking about on the Good Neighbor Hour, and he's so right. You've got, I think, the Rawlins County Fair and Cheyenne County Fair, and of course the Northwest Kansas District Free Fair here in Goodland all week. But it's going to be a toasty one this week, which is way different than last year. I don't know if people remember, but I remember last year going out to the fair and having to have sweatshirts on. I mean, it was a cool night, which I don't have a problem with. I kind of like those sweatshirt type nights, but I don't think that's going to be the case here this year. It's going to be a warm fair week here in Northwest Kansas. Hope everyone had a great weekend. My weekend was not only when we were in the parade, obviously, if you were at the Northwest Kansas District Free Fair, we were going through the parade. Did that on Saturday, and then went to the fair a little bit on Saturday night. But past that, I spent a lot of time at home doing projects around the house. Had a lot, we installed some new windows at our house, and so was doing a lot of caulking around those windows. Had a lot of that to do this weekend. So it was a very busy weekend for yours truly, but I was lucky enough to get a nap in a little bit on Sunday. So that's always good. If I can get a Sunday nap in, I will certainly take it. But a very busy weekend for yours truly, and I hope you guys had a good, fun weekend and are ready to roll into another week. Today's program, we will be visiting with our good friend from Fort Hays State men's basketball. Rusty Groffel is going to join us, the assistant coach there. Going to join us on the program. We're in the middle of the summer. We'll see what Rusty's up to here as we roll through kind of the dog days of summer. We've got the leftovers for anything we don't get to in our weekend winners and losers, which will be coming up here on the program today. And as always, if you'd like to chime in throughout the show with your weekend winners or losers or anything else you'd like to bring to the table, would love to hear from you on the F&B Bank text line. That number is always 785-899-2222. Once again, that is 785-899-2222. Text the show anytime on the FNB Bank text line, and we would love to hear from you throughout the program. All right. Well, about 30 minutes past the top of the hour. Let's get this party started with our weekend winners and losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners. Loser? You're a loser.
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
Want to be a winner, be a winner.
All right, so let's get rolling here with our weekend winners and losers. Got a lot of baseball because that's about the only thing that is truly happening about this time. As I've said many times before, you've got baseball right now. You've got, of course, little WNBA. If you follow that real closely, I admit I don't follow that very closely. There is some golf here and there. And yeah, of course, we're ramping up into football season with, preseason football and stuff. That's actually really going to get rolling here next week. I mean, what is it? August 9th. It's kind of the first kind of August 8th, 9th, somewhere in that range. This coming weekend is going to be kind of the first full weekend of NFL preseason and college football. We still have got 2 weeks from this coming Saturday until we're talking about Dublin, Ireland, where Kansas State and Iowa State face off to get going for the 2025 college football season. So lots of baseball winners here this past weekend. I want to start off with the Kansas City Royals, a winner of the weekend. The Royals, not like they went out and just dominated, but they take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays in Toronto, does Kansas City, including getting a nice win yesterday over Toronto. They win 7-4, a big game for Salvador Perez, who got a hit in there as well. And, big day for, I can't remember his first name now, for Tyler. Thank you, Tyler Tolbert, who had a big clutch hit, 2 RBI knock. Vinny Pasquantino had a good day. And Kyle Isbell had a couple hits and RBI as well, as the Royals win 7-4. But they're winners of the weekend because not only did they take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays in Toronto, because, yes, they did win 7-4, lost on Saturday 4-2, but won convincingly on Friday 9-3. And one of the highlights in the 9-3 win was a Mike Yastrzemski home run in his first AB as a Royal. That's what I can just imagine the front office watching that game and being like, that's what we traded for. We needed a guy to come in and provide some pop in the lineup, and that's what we got in the very first at-bat. Now, I don't think Yastrzemski did much else the rest of the weekend, but I think he does provide a little bit of a left-handed power in that lineup there for the Royals. Nonetheless, they take 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays in Toronto on the weekend. They have now won 9 of their last 15 games, and that's going back to the All-Star break. So they've won 9 of 15 since that All-Star break and have gotten themselves back to 500 with their overall record, 56 and 56 at this point in time, and puts them at this point in time just 3.5 games out of the final wild card spot, I should say. So they still are a half game behind Cleveland, which they're going to have chances to play them here in the final 50 games. And they are 2 games back of the Rangers, and they're sitting in that final wild card spot is the Mariners. They're tightening things up. For a long time, they were kind of in that 5.5 to 6, but because they have won every single series since the All-Star break, they are back in the contention here. And this was kind of that question that everybody had when we were talking, last Thursday was, where, and prior to that, obviously, too, but where do these teams sit and what do they think of their chances of making the postseason? And the Royals thought, well, I think we better find a way to contend. We have Bobby Witt Jr. on our roster. We need to find a way to put them in the best position to have success with him on this roster. And they went out and made some trades. And because of, I'm not saying totally because of that, but part of the reason why they've had a nice push here is because they've been aggressive at the trade deadline. They were not sellers. Not that they had a lot to sell anyway. But the Royals right now a winner of the weekend because 3.5 games out in the wild card, won 9 of 15, and took 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays in Toronto. Our first winner of the weekend, the Kansas City Royals. Winner number 2 this weekend, staying in Major League Baseball. How about the Miami Marlins? For the first time in the franchise history, they swept the New York Yankees. The Marlins get it done with a sweep of the New York Yankees. They win 13-12 in a crazy game on Friday, 2-0 on Saturday, and then follow that up with a 7-3 victory on Sunday to sweep the Yankees for the first time in franchise history. Like I said, it was a little bit of a crazy series, but because if you look at the Marlins, a lot like the Royals, even probably hotter, but since June 13th, the Marlins are 30-14. That has tied the 2003 team for the most wins in a 44-game span in franchise history. And I think if I remember correctly, that 2003 team played for a World Series. Mike Lowe, the D-Train, Dontrell Willis, Miguel Cabrera. I think that was the 03 team. Nonetheless, 30-14 since June 13th. And they have, slowly, after being kind of down at the bottom of the barrel, to say the very least, being at the bottom of the barrel in the wild card, they have kind of slowly crept their way up into contention. Now, they're still 6 games out of that final wild card spot, but for a while, they were hanging around at that 10, 11, 12 games back in the wild card. And now all of a sudden they have put themselves in a position to possibly make the postseason. They're going to need a really big push and probably some help as well, being 6 games out with 50 games left. But hey, you never know. And right now they're white hot at this point in time. Once again, winners of going 30-14 since June 13th. And an interesting stat, a very interesting stat that I saw from this weekend based upon the Miami Marlins is that with a now 25-24 record versus New York, they are the only Major League Baseball team with a winning record against the Yankees. So in the history of all the teams that have played the Yankees, they're the only one with a winning record is the Miami Marlins. And it makes sense when you really think about it, how they're the only team that could do that. First and foremost, you'd have to find a team that's in the National League, a team that did not play them all the time. It'd be very, very hard to be a team like that's in the American League. And if you're in the American League East, even harder. If you're the Rays, if you're the Orioles, if you're whatever else you want to think about, you play them a lot. You have a good chance of playing them a lot. You have a good chance of beating them a lot, but you also have a good chance of losing them a lot, which the Yankees have been very, very good for a long, long time. You think about their history back to Babe Ruth and Yogi Berra, and you want to keep going to Joe DiMaggio, and you can just keep going up and down the lineup of all these great Yankee teams that they've had. Derek Jeter, doesn't matter. You can go up the list. They've been a great franchise for a long time. So any team that has a winning record against them has to be a team that probably hasn't played them a ton, Miami Marlins haven't been around for that long. They've been around since what? I think the mid-90s. Mid-90s, I think. So you look at that. They've been around. They haven't been around for a long time. They don't play in the same division. They don't play in the same league. And so it adds up. And so it does make sense that the Marlins are the only Major League Baseball team with a winning record versus the New York Yankees. Now 25-24 with that win. Interesting stat there. So there you go. Miami Marlins, a winner of the weekend as they sweep the Yankees for the first time in franchise history. That's another thing, too. They have a winning record without ever sweeping them until this past weekend. Interesting. All right. Moving on here. Other winners of the weekend. Shifting to the NFL. Winner of the weekend, defensive lineman, particularly the defensive lineman of Zach Allen. Broncos defensive lineman agreeing to a 4-year, $102 million extension with $69.5 million of that guaranteed with a deal that runs through 2029. The Broncos have just kind of slowly but surely extended the players that they believe are the cornerstones of their franchise, whether it is Pat Surtain II or Cortland Sutton. Now Zach Allen. We'll see if they go get Nick Bonito. But, it's true. You in the NFL, you need to probably have a great quarterback, obviously, which they still have on a rookie deal because he's going in just his second season. We'll see if he has a great second or progresses to be better here over the coming years, or if he's going to maybe have a little bit of a step back, a sophomore slump, maybe you want to call that. We'll see with Bo Nix. You need a good left tackle. That's kind of up in the air at this point in time. I think, okay, Garrett Bowles has been good, not great. And then after that, but they do have him, I believe, signed pretty convincingly. And then past that, you need good players on the defensive line, you need good players in the secondary, and they've just kind of slowly added pieces, and we'll see what they do with Nick Bonito. That's apparently the next one that they're going to try to get locked down more than likely, or figure out what they're going to do with that. But Zach Allen gets like I said, a 4-year, $102 million extension, and he wasn't the only winner this past weekend on the defensive line, as Miami was able to get their defensive lineman. I think it was Zach Seiler. I think it's how you say his name. He signed a new extension. I don't know. Maybe it's not Zach Seiler. I'm trying to remember his name, but the defensive lineman from the Miami Dolphins gets a new deal yesterday as well. He becomes the highest paid. Yeah, it is Zach Seiler. 3 years, $67.75 million extension with $22.5 million guaranteed. So Seiler gets a new deal as well, which he's a great story, by the way. He was not even a Division I football player. He was not even a scholarship Division II player. He was a walk-on at Division II Ferris State, was Zach Seiler. And he was drafted by the Ravens and then got cut and then claimed by the Dolphins. What a great story of resiliency. A kid that was probably a solid high school player, got overlooked by big-time colleges, got overlooked even by Division II colleges, went and walked on at a small D2 in Ferris State. I don't want to say small D2, but a D2 school in Ferris State. And then was able to get drafted by the Ravens, which is great. Didn't make the roster, was cut, and then claimed by the Dolphins to now where he ends up getting a big $67.75 million deal, making him the highest paid defensive lineman in the game. That is just an amazing story. I mean, that is a real winner of the weekend of resiliency. That is just a resilient story. Zach Seiler. What a great story for him. The Ferris State walk-on. Cut in the NFL. Just the story of perseverance. You just got to keep going if you believe that you're good. And look, now he's the highest paid defensive player over the next 3 years. Pretty darn cool to see that with Zach Seiler. So defensive linemen, winners of the weekend, getting paid over this past week in the NFL. And one more winner here this weekend, golfer Cameron Young. Cameron Young gets his first PGA victory at the Wyndham Invitational this past weekend. It was his first win in 94 tries. He became the 1,000th player to win a recognized PGA Tour event. But he had gone 94 events that he'd played in without making it. He had been in the mix in a lot of things, whether it was majors or PGA events. He had been in the top 10, top 5 in a lot of things, but always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And he finally got it done yesterday with the win there at the Wyndham Invitational. And I gotta fact check this because I read something somewhere about Cameron Young, who I believe is from Australia, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. I wanted to see what his rookie season was. Okay, so it was miswritten there. So he's only been around for a couple of years. I read somewhere. I think it was a mistypo, I think, somewhere where his rookie season was in 2002. And that's incorrect. It was actually 2021 was his rookie season on the PGA Tour. So it's only been 4 years. But you think about it, for a guy who's been in the top 10 a lot and has been close to winning majors, close to winning events, and not winning anything, I mean, that's crushing. That's crushing. Kind of goes back to a question that I'd love to discuss sometime on the show about what is more crushing. Is it, if let's just say you're a college basketball team and you make it all the way to the national championship game, through the NCAA tournament, through your whole long season, you play close to 40 games and you get to the final and you lose in the championship game. Is that more heartbreaking than, having a whole bunch of, you go through a whole season where, you're so close against good teams and against bad teams. You're so close, but you end up losing by, just a point or something like that, or a last second buzzer beater. What is more soul crushing? And my guess is for Cameron Young, getting so close all these times, but not winning anything makes it very, very difficult, but gets his first PGA Tour victory in 94 tries with the win. And I'd say being a golfer is expensive. I mean, now don't get me wrong. If you're finishing inside the top 10, you're still taking home some good money, but that could get expensive if you're not racking up a lot of wins at times. You're looking at around $10,000 every weekend minimum, sometimes with private airfare and where, Airbnbs and all kinds of things like that. It can get really, really expensive. And so that was one thing I thought of, like, God, first of all, it was mistyped in an article I read that his rookie season was 2002. I thought, how does a guy who has not won anything in over 20 plus years afford to keep playing golf? I mean, sponsorships, obviously, but it makes more sense now. But Cameron Young, congratulations. His first PGA Tour victory in 94 tries with the win at the Wyndham Invitational this past Sunday. Speaking of golf, anybody happen to see what happened at the Women's Open Championship yesterday? There was an unbelievable little sequence. There was some gal, I see, I have it here on my phone. I got to pull it up real quickly. I want to make sure I'll give credit to the names that deserve it. But this is an unbelievable deal. So let's see here. Steph Curacao had a great shot on a par 3 that put her shot within 2 inches of the hole. It was an amazing shot on a par 3, put it within 2 inches of the hole. Did this Steph Curacao is her name, I believe is how you say that. And then her playing partner that yesterday was Mimi Rhodes, and she had the next shot after Curacao, who put it 2 inches of the hole, and Rhodes hit it and doinked it off of her ball 2 inches away from the cup and put it in the hole for an ace. That's nuts. Nuts. Almost 2 consecutive aces back to back. Boom, boom. But one ended up 2 inches away. Another one came and just got in the right spot, dunked off the ball, and went into the cup. Oh, that's crazy. All right. And before we get to a break, we got one loser of the weekend. I've only got one. I don't have a ton of losers this weekend. I went digging, could not find a ton of them. But I do have to say it was kind of a loser of the weekend with the Bristol game and Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball, if you weren't paying attention this weekend, didn't hear about it, they played a game inside Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. Now, don't get me wrong. It was pretty cool. I mean, it's cool to see baseball stadiums in these venues. I'm not going to lie. My favorite one, they started doing this a few years ago when they did the Field of Dreams deal. And I loved the Field of Dreams deal. I thought that was super cool. And when they walked out of the corn was just for the introductions was amazing. Almost chills. I loved the Field of Dreams game. I thought it was awesome. And then they went, I think it was last year, they did an honor to Negro League Baseball, and they played one of the games of the old Negro League stadiums, which was cool. I liked that too. And then this year they said, we're going to play a game at Bristol Motor Speedway, where they have, I believe, I think they've played a football game there. Didn't like Florida State and Virginia Tech or something like that play a football game there at one point in time? Correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, but they wanted to do a baseball game. Well, one problem was on Saturday when they had the baseball game scheduled, it got going and it rained. And so then they had to postpone it to Sunday in order to make that work. So that was kind of tough. But the other thing that stunk about this whole ordeal is, I don't know if people saw, but the concessions for this event were not great. It was a massive fail by Major League Baseball. The Bristol game had no food really to eat except bunless hot dogs and cheeseless nachos. I mean, and then they had multiple shuttles to even get in the stadium, and they were completely unprepared for rain. I mean, this is what happens when you do these type of things for a one-off. You're not prepared on what could happen. But I mean, just think about it. If you bought a ticket to go to this game, and I would guess it probably was not cheap, even though there were plenty of seats available to watch this game, and you go there and you'd like to have something to eat and drink, and all you have is bunless hot dogs and cheeseless nachos. I mean, that's bad. Really bad. Bad. I mean, I'm reading some things here on social media. I mean, people bought tickets and couldn't get parked for under $350. I mean, they bought tickets, they had to spend $350 on parking. Couldn't find an Uber or a shuttle for the hotel. Police closed parking lots, trapping the shuttles for hours. It was very bad. It was not a good weekend for Major League Baseball there. And which is why I kind of sit back and I don't know why we're doing these things. I mean, you're really stretching it. But I would say that to me is a loser of the weekend, is that Major League Baseball Bristol game. So yeah, really, really good. So if anybody happens to see that, not good, with the cheeseless nacho, I see the pictures. I mean, it's like you said, one of those cardboard food troughs, that you have, and there's a hot dog, but it's just a hot dog. That's all there is in it. And chips, no cheese, just chips. I mean, what in the world? That's a bad experience. A bad experience. Just go back and do it in the Field of Dreams every year. It's way cooler, way cooler in the Field of Dreams than it is in this. This is a bad deal for Major League Baseball. So losers of the weekend, Major League Baseball, and the Bristol game with the concessions and the parking and all that stuff. It was a bad weekend for them there in Bristol, Tennessee. All right, it is 7:33 Mountain, 8:33 Central Time. That is weekend winners and losers. FB Bank text line remains open throughout the break at 785-899-2222. We're going to take a timeout. We'll return with our good friend Rusty Groffel, Fort Hays State men's basketball assistant coach, joins us next. You're listening to the Morning Blitz.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
This is Austin Wright with the Anderson's Trade Group and your morning market update. September corn, $338.5. December corn, $409.25. March 26 corn, $427. September KC wheat, $519.25. December KC wheat, $539.25. March 26 KC wheat, $559. November soybeans, $989. January soybeans, $1007. March soybeans, $1024. Moving on to the broader market, Dow Jones futures are currently up 197 points at 43,905. S&P 500 futures are currently up 35 points at 6,300. NASDAQ futures are currently up 189.5 points at 23,074. Gold is currently up $19.80 at 3,419. Crude is currently down $1.76 at 65.57. For your grain marketing needs or more information on our Freedom Pricing tools, you can reach the Kansas City office, Jared Law, Tyler Ghosh, Tom Saludo, at 913-748-3000. In Colorado, John Hankey and John Stiles, 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor and or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
Harness the
Where's your TV?
What? No way, dude.
Like that flat screen TV that just got stolen.
If you need renter's insurance, see me, Shelter Agent Brent Wood in Goodland.
Start your day with a blitz of sports news, analysis, and interviews.
Sounds like a pretty damn good deal to me.
This is the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Kicking along on a Monday morning here, August the 4th. Going to be 87 here in the tri-state region. But a beautiful start to the morning. Temperatures in the mid-60s. Gorgeous morning out there for sure. And a busy week ahead for a lot of area 4-H'ers and stuff with Fair Week happening, all that kind of stuff. Our good friend Rusty Groffel, assistant coach now at Fort Hays State University with the men's basketball team, joins us now on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware Hotline. Russ, good morning. How are we doing today?
Ross, good morning. We're doing pretty good. I'm kind of liking how you're reiterating the nice weather. Yeah, so I was able to get outside this morning and not sweat. All the way down to the toes.
Yeah, did you get out there and get yourself a 3-mile jog in or 10-mile jog? Get that cardio work in today?
Yeah, not quite that, but I did get a early morning workout in, so that helped. It had nothing to do with jogging. It was just outside and then the weight room a little bit of the iron, you know.
Yeah, we got to pump that iron, as we love to talk about. What was it today? Was it leg day today? I mean, sorry, I misspeak. I apologize. Leg day is no longer a thing anymore. It's only what was it today? Triceps and biceps?
No, we had chest today. So
Oh.
yeah, we're specifying it. Yeah, it was chest. Now I don't know. You know, they've slowly digressed through the years. You know, so chest turns into probably a lot of lounging around and on my phone too much too, to be honest with you. So I thought maybe the phone was laying on my chest, you know. So
You were using it as what do they call that? You know, like that big block when you do the bench press. You know, you're using your phone as that.
Oh yeah, yeah. The old towel. We used to use that towel back in the
Towel.
day. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You had the towel, and then you had, you know, the 3 2x4s or the 2 2x4s stacked on top of one another. So I don't know what the point of that was for sure, but it probably working a different muscle in your arms. But yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah, use your cell phone as that. What are you benching nowadays? Is that bench still staking up around that 225?
Yeah, we keep it there. I need a partner, so we need to probably do a live show where we work out together, and we could actually help each other with the spot.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Amazingly embarrassing
Live
for
show.
your boy. I don't know if I could get 225, even get close to even doing it once would probably be the case.
That's okay. That's what the spotter's there for.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
we get our buys and tries in both.
Yes.
That's how we do that together.
Make me look good, all right? Make me look good, please.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Rusty Groffel's our guest here on the Morning Blitz. I was talking about the fair as we came back from the break. Did you ever do anything at the fair there? Were you anything in 4-H? You any type of fair projects growing up?
You know, Mom always wanted us to. I believe we kind of did 4-H really early, but then slowly, as kind of athletics got involved in life, we got away from it. So a couple of brothers did a couple of things. I personally don't remember ever kind of entering anything in the fair 4-H wise or anything like that. Cousins, you know, everything. We always went, obviously, because it was just a small town thing to do. So it was an exciting time, though. I mean, it's exciting for the fact that you got all the stuff going on, and then kind of probably not as exciting, you know, just because summer was ending, you know, at that time in your life. So, but big time. Pork burgers in Oberlin, you know, big thing. So always gear up for that.
Do you miss a pork burger around this time of year?
Oh, probably so. Yeah. I don't know what they do there that makes it taste different than any other pork burger I've ever had. So it's just, I don't know if it's just the, you know, being at the fair type of vibe and, you know, it tastes different. It's the taste buds different or what it is, that they actually do something to make it different, but I haven't found that out yet.
F&B Bank text line 785-899-2222. If you know more information about the Oberlin Fair, Decatur County Fair pork burger, we'd like to know more information on that. Request from Rusty Groffel here on the Morning Blitz, who joins us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline. Yeah, I know. I think about sticking on food. You know, they're in a town where I grew up, next to where I grew up is Chickley. They used to do the Windsor chop feed, where they would have a Windsor chops and they would grill those up for people. Oh my, they were really good. I don't know what they did, but those were impressive. Really, really good. So I know exactly what you mean, but you're like, I don't know what they do to make it any better than what I do, but they know something that I don't. That's a fact.
Absolutely.
So what's the summer been like? You know, let's actually talk some hoops here a little bit. But of course, Rusty Groffel joining us, Fort Hays State men's basketball assistant coach on the Hoover Lumber Hardware Hotline. You know, what is the summer like for you guys? I know you guys have a lot of camps and things like that. So how has the camp season kind of gone, or how did it go?
Yeah, so Coach Johnson here, you know, has been doing kind of the same routine, you know, for a number of years. So I would say one of the I'll call the nice thing is we get our camp done pretty early, that first week of June. And then we don't do like any elite camps. We don't really do any other type of camp besides our one big camp at the beginning of the summer. So we kind of knocked that off right off the summer to kick it off. And then, you know, being back in this area in Northwest Kansas, I've slowly started, you know, doing what I call some satellite camps. You know, to where I'll go to smaller towns, you know, and they want somebody to kind of run a camp for them. So I've done a couple of those in the last 2 years since I've been back, which has been nice. Kind of, you know, things I've done back in Colby, back in those times, you know, so it's been good just to, you know, get to different spots and stuff like that. So the camp part was pretty well done for me. You know, in June, we got done all the way in the month of June when I got done with some of those. And then really we just pushed on with recruiting, obviously signing our class, and then, you know, looking ahead to 26 and 27 class, you know, with juniors and seniors coming up, obviously, that we'll be looking at through the course of the fall and the spring and starting those visits and everything like that.
You know, you talk about wrapping up a recruiting class. How stressful or not stressful is that when you get down to the final couple of days? I mean, I know in some cases in maybe other divisions, you know, in Division I and stuff, you get down to the nitty gritty of those days and you're in a battle with another school. I'm guessing it's probably not that stressful. What's it like kind of getting those recruiting classes tied up at the end?
You know, it's always, you got some type of stress and anxiety kind of coming with it. You try not to, you know, obviously look at it that way. Pending, you know, the situation with the recruits. Obviously, you're not portraying that to them at all, you know. But, you know, you are, you know, dealing with, like we've talked about on many of these shows, a whole different landscape at all levels, you know, NIL and transfer portal and just a regular high school class coming out. You know, so there's a lot of different things that kind of add to if you want to call it this stress level of on both sides of it. But really, it's just finding the right mix. You get in a groove, really. Obviously, you know what you want as a staff. And I feel like you're always looking. Personally, even if you're done, I feel like you're always looking. I always I learned it probably from Coach Johnson. To be honest with you, you're never really done. You always try to, if somebody comes up and you can work it out, as long as your roster space is, maybe have a little room to wiggle with, and you can obviously kind of make things work. But for us, it was, we lost a huge class, a big key class. Obviously losing, 4 starters, and just a big group of guys that have been here for a number of years because of COVID. So I'm trying to fill that as quickly as you can, but then also trying to maintain, having guys, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, trying to maintain that so you don't have such a big of a drop off, in the upcoming years. So for us, I thought it was pretty good. We sent a lot of high school guys, probably more than we thought, going into this class. And then also picked up a couple transfers that we knew we needed with the 8 that we have returning. So we had a good number returning, which was nice.
You talk about signing a lot of high school guys. What enticed you about these kids that are high schoolers to pull the trigger on them? Because sometimes it's hard, and if you're a coach, sometimes you say, well, I would like to see these guys at a 2-year school or something like that, maybe, or something like that. How did you know that these were the guys you wanted to pull the trigger on?
Yeah, good question. And sometimes you really don't know, Ross. You take chances. You see some things that obviously, right away you're like, okay, that checks the box. Obviously, with the young man, if he's truly coming out of high school, he's going to most likely take a year or two to even, get his bearings, understand how he has to play in the conference, for the coach, how hard he has to play, all those little things. But I would say with this class, first and foremost, we wanted to bring in some freshmen, to rebuild, the guys that we had lost, Caleb Hammocky, Trey Davies, guys that have been there for, 5-6 years who wanted to stay. And we wanted guys like that. If you can find them, so, you can keep building that program up, and there's not really too much of a drop off, you hope, based off of what type of player they are. But I'd say with this class, the freshmen, especially with size, we brought in a lot of size. We're bigger across the board position wise. And a lot of that is our freshman class. You got a guy that's 6'7", you got a guy that's 6'4", 6'4.5", you got another guard that's 6'3", you got another guard that's 6'2". So, we wanted some size with that. And then we also have some toughness and strength with that too. These guys are, it seems like every year they're getting bigger, so like Ben Johnson comes in at 6'4.5" and, 220 pounds as a high school senior, which some of those guys don't get there till their senior year of college. So some of their frames right now were really intriguing to us. That we thought, okay, if they could step in right away, physically, some of them are ready. Height-wise, some of them, kind of fill where we would want to with what we're losing. Then you check the box with the basketball. I think a lot of these guys played a high level of basketball, from New York to Chicago to Missouri to obviously Nebraska. With the levels that they were at, that, we could kind of see, okay, at least, we can, kind of look at where they had been and whether it was summer ball or high school ball, and then try to factor in, okay, obviously with our preseason and getting them ready where they could potentially be there, in the incoming freshman year.
We're visiting once again with Rusty Groffel, Fort Hays State men's basketball assistant coach, joining us on the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline on this Monday morning. You talked about camps. How important is it for kids to come to your camps, or in the case of Fort Hays State's camps, and for them to come there and to compete at your camp, or just to be a part of the camp scene year in and year out? Not to saying help them recruiting, but maybe help their chances of getting a chance to play at Fort Hays State or maybe even another college.
Yeah, that's another great point you bring up. I've talked to parents about this, and times have changed too, since, we were young, I was young, with what you did at this age, going into, high school to, your senior year. But I think they're crucial. Nowadays everybody's a part of a circuit. Basketball basically goes year round. whether it's EYBL, the UA circuit, the Adidas circuits, you got Puma circuit, you got all these different circuits on top of just MLB ball, just things, you're doing, obviously scholastically now, playing with your high school team. So it just keeps adding to the plate. I feel like for, young men, young women, obviously trying to play ball or whatever the case is. So for me personally, and I can vouch for this for Fort Hays State too, actually, teams or schools that have elite camps or a camp that we just do where it's, 2 through 12, grade wise, I think it's important, let alone just an elite camp, but let alone for, the coach and the staff to get eyes on you. And also I think what helps with a camp like what we do is we bring other college coaches in, so to work the camp. So, whether it's Sterling, McPherson, some of these other, colleges that, whether they're assistant coaches, grad assistants, so there's other eyes outside of just Fort Hays State, on them collegiate wise. And personally, in the last 2 years, we've signed 2 or 3 guys out of this camp, and not necessarily because they came to our camp, but because, okay, they came, a couple times and now they're going into their senior year, and we're like, okay, well, now we can see them physically, which always helps any coach across America. I think when you get, those eyes on them, watching them live, watching them, we're in drill work, we're in, live play, some different things, to where we're able to be like, okay, we need to make sure we watch, Eli, who came to our camp and now we got his high school games marked off, and, just having those little things to help us, that also helps the, the camper or, the potential recruit. So I think it's crucial. I went to a ton of camps, when I was all the way up, sophomore, junior, senior. Whether or not that helped me, potentially play college basketball, I think it did. I can't pinpoint times to where, it was like, oh yeah, those coaches were there. I can't remember that personally, but I think it really helped. And obviously it's proven, since these last 2 years, I've been at least at this level that, we do get guys from that, personally just going to the camp, and we've got eyes on them. So then we continue to recruit them.
Rusty Groffel, our guest. A couple more for you before we let you go, Rusty. I want to go to recruiting as a whole. Do you guys like, multi-sport athletes, or do you like the guys that just play basketball year-round like you talked about? I mean, I'm sure you'll take either, but do you have a preference?
I personally like multi-sport athletes. I think Coach, that not to speak for him or Coach Brown, but looking at our roster, a lot of them are multi-sport athletes. Whether or not we distinguish in recruiting that way, it just kind of turns out that way. Just the versatility, in my opinion. You're putting a lot of different scenarios when you're a multi-sport athlete. And also, I think regardless, you're, as an athlete, you're progressing with different athletics, whether it's your strength, whether it's your quickness, a lot of different things that I think end up helping the sport that you will choose, if that's the route you're going. I would like to recruit personally all multi-sport, but nowadays it seems like there is a lot more isolation, especially when you get out of rural America and you get into the bigger city where, they kind of do that quite a bit more, I would say. And like we talked about, I mean, it's a year-round deal now. You can play basketball year-round, to where it didn't used to be like that. You kind of picked and choose whether it was summer or during the season.
I can imagine me growing up, and if I was playing basketball or any sport all year round, I mean, I just get burnt out. I love the changing of the seasons.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah.
I like that a lot. One more before we get you out of here, Russ. We're here at the kind of what we call the end of summer. School's about to start to get going here in the next month or so for a lot of teams. What's the schedule like for getting guys, back into the routine? Or are they still in the routine? What's the schedule like for getting guys ramping up for this 2025-26 season?
Yeah, so D2 level is a little different. We don't have these guys here over the summer. If guys are staying over the summer, we have certain rules where they can kind of work out with the strength coach, hourly and stuff like that. But basketball-wise, they're virtually on their own. So for them, we just, hopefully they're maintaining what they need to do until they get in front of us again. But when you're looking ahead, so obviously in the month of August, we'll have guys start rolling in here, August 13th, 14th, 15th, classes right around that 18th mark. So once that happens, and we have our 14 guys here, we'll do kind of typically what every probably program in America does. We'll have a quick meeting, kind of, set the tone for what we want in this upcoming preseason and season. And then we'll give them that week, and then we'll amp up that next week with preseason workouts all the way through till, we get, 2 or 3 scrimmages in. Obviously, we play KU again this year, so that'll be one of our early exhibitions. So amping up really for that, and it happens pretty quick with us. We just hit the ground running. So, it's pretty much 100 miles an hour full speed, which will help with our returners, our 8 guys that have been through this process quite a bit to help these, the new 6 that we have coming in to get them going pretty quick.
Okay, real quickly here. Have you ever had it where, you don't see a guy throughout the summer and he comes back and you're like, whoa, like in a bad way or a good way?
Yeah, I think probably both. You got some guys and they you kind of see it in their eyes, deer in the headlights, kind of, especially the ones that know they're out of shape or not where they need to be. And it's going to be a rough, first couple of weeks. And then a guy like Eli, an incoming freshman last year from Bennington, Eli Lawson, he actually came in and we had, watched him all the way through and didn't see him in the summer, but he put on, a little over 15 pounds as incoming freshman, which was probably the most impressive thing I've seen in a while. Because really, as a freshman, you don't know. You can only take what the coach, if you're not there, you're taking, hey, put on some weight, get as much weight as you can. We'll be able to help you when you get here. He did a tremendous job. So there are situations like that too, whether it's freshman to junior, senior, whatever, guys that know, to where you're like, okay, yeah, you're really ready. The ball can be bounced out there right now.
Rusty Groffel, our good friend from Fort Hays State University. He's the men's basketball assistant there. Russ, it's always great to catch up, my friend. Have a great start to the school year, okay?
All right, Russ. If you get any calls back on those pork burgers, I'll treat you to one. We'll get up there and get one.
Sounds good, buddy. I will let you know. You'll be the first person I message since I learned something new today about a pork burger. So thanks, Russ. We'll catch you later.
All right, Russ. Appreciate it.
Once again, great stuff there from Rusty Groffel here on the Morning Blitz. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back. We'll wrap the show with the walk-off next here on the Morning Blitz.
This summer, NWKS Radio is bringing the party.
Absolutely.
Goodland and Colby has everything you need to make the most of that lawn with top-notch weed and feed from Ultimate Fertilizer and keep those bugs away with powerful pesticides. Plus, Ego mower blowers and trimmers to get that job done fast. Fire up some summer flavor with a Traeger grill or a Blackstone griddle. And if you're building a fence or even fixing a sprinkler, they've got the building materials and supplies to keep your projects moving. Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, your summer project headquarters.
At FNB Bank, we understand the backbone of our community is our local farmers and ranchers. Whether you're growing crops, raising livestock, or investing in new equipment, we're here to help you succeed. Our agricultural loans are tailored to meet the unique needs of your farm with flexible terms from people who understand what it takes to make it in agriculture. When you partner with FNB Bank, you're working with neighbors who know the land and are invested in your success. FNB Bank, rooted in our community, growing with you. Member FDIC.
And back lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Brady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on the New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes flings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
All right, wrapping up a show here with the walk-off. Real quickly, Rockies take 2 of 3 from Pittsburgh this weekend. They won Friday and Saturday, but could not win on Sunday as they lose 9-5. But the real story was the Friday game. A 17-6 come-from-behind win for the Rockies in what was the ultimate weird Coors Field special, where Pittsburgh was up 9-0 going into the first at-bats for the Rockies in the bottom of the first, and the Rockies score 5 in the bottom of the ninth to come back and win 17-16. They out-hit Pittsburgh 22-18. Just a wild, nutty Coors Field special on Friday night with the Rockies getting the win. By the way, shout out to the unbelievable hot start for Worming Bernabel. 24 at-bats, 458 batting average, 3 homers, 7 runs batted in. His 24 total bases are second most for a Rocky through their first 6 games, only behind the great Trevor Story. So Worming Bernabel, a guy you would have never picked in the lineup name to have someone be an unbelievable impact player for the Rockies, is doing it. And getting out of here on this, we talked about the tough concession stands happening at the Bristol Speedway for that baseball game. Well, it was a slam dunk concession promotion for the Guardians on Sunday as they had $2 pregame beer promotions. And if you've seen any of the pictures surrounding what was going on at Progressive Field, wow, there was a lot of beer. Cleveland's known for doing that. The $2 beer, hot dog type deals. Those fans don't want to take advantage of that. There was a ton of beer on the $2 pregame beer promotion there at the Guardians game yesterday. See you tomorrow in 23 hours. It's been the Blitz. Have a good one.
Classic rock